Kilkenny Castle, the ghosts of the River Nore, a true Irish haunted legend. The people of Kilkenny proudly call their city the Marble City, famous for its medieval streets, ancient churches, and the magnificent Kilkenny Castle that has stood watch over the River Nore for more than 8 centuries. During the day, tourists wander through its elegant halls, admire priceless paintings, and stroll peacefully through its beautiful gardens. But when darkness falls and the last footsteps fade away, another Kilkenny awakens, a city whispered about in old Irish folklore, where the River Nore is said to guard secrets that refuse to stay buried. For generations, local residents have shared eerie tales of strange figures appearing along the riverbanks beneath the castle walls. Fishermen have reported hearing voices carried across perfectly still water. Night watchmen have spoken of shadowy figures dressed in medieval clothing silently walking beside the river before vanishing into the mist. Some dismiss these stories as imagination, while others simply refuse to walk near the castle after midnight. The history of Kilkenny Castle itself is undeniably tragic. Originally built in the late 12th century by the Norman Lord William Marshal, the fortress witnessed countless wars, betrayals, sieges, executions, and political struggles. The powerful Butler family occupied the castle for nearly 600 years, watching generations live and die within its stone walls. During Ireland's darkest conflicts, the castle overlooked rivers stained by violence and fields filled with fallen soldiers. Historians record many of these battles, but folklore insists that not every soul ever truly left. Among the oldest local legends is the story of the River Bride. According to oral tradition, centuries ago a young woman named Aileen lived in a small village near the River Nore. She was known for her kindness and her beautiful singing voice, which echoed across the water every evening. A young castle guard fell deeply in love with her, and despite their different social status, they secretly planned to marry. However, political unrest gripped Kilkenny. Rival factions fought for power, and the castle's soldiers were constantly preparing for conflict. One evening the young guard was ordered to leave immediately for battle. Before departing, he promised Aileen he would return before the next full moon. He never did. Weeks later, word spread that nearly the entire company had been slaughtered outside the city walls. Heartbroken, Aileen continued visiting the river every evening, hoping somehow she had been told a lie. One stormy night she disappeared. Villagers searched for days but found only her white shawl tangled among reeds beside the River Nore. No body was ever recovered. Not long afterward, strange sightings began. People walking beside the river claimed to see a young woman dressed in white standing silently beneath the shadow of Kilkenny Castle. She never spoke. She simply stared toward the castle towers before slowly fading into the river mist. The sightings became so common that older residents warned children never to answer if a woman called their name near the water after sunset. As decades passed, another mystery emerged. Boatmen navigating the River Nore at night occasionally reported hearing footsteps behind them despite being completely alone. Others heard the unmistakable sound of metal armor clanking across invisible stone pathways beneath the water. Some claimed they watched ghostly soldiers crossing the surface of the river itself. When approached, the figures dissolved into thick fog. Even stranger were reports from castle workers during the 19th century. Several gardeners responsible for maintaining the grounds overlooking the river recorded hearing women crying shortly before sunrise. Believing someone needed help, they searched the gardens and riverbanks repeatedly. There was never anyone there. One elderly groundskeeper reportedly refused to work early mornings after claiming he saw a pale woman emerge from the river, her long hair soaked, leaving no footprints across the wet grass before disappearing into the castle walls. He resigned only weeks later. The castle's night guards have their own unsettling stories. Some describe hearing heavy wooden doors slam despite every entrance remaining locked. Others mention footsteps moving through empty corridors before continuing toward windows overlooking the River Nore. Whenever they rushed outside expecting to catch trespassers, they found only silence and thick fog rolling across the water. One particularly unsettling account came from a maintenance worker who stayed late restoring part of the castle's lower level. Around 2 o'clock in the morning he heard soft singing. The melody seemed distant yet incredibly clear. Following the sound, he reached a window facing the river. Standing below was a young woman dressed entirely in white. She slowly lifted one hand toward him. Then the castle lights flickered. For only a second. When the lights returned, she had vanished. The worker reportedly refused every future overnight shift. Another legend speaks of the Black Boat. Unlike the story of the River Bride, this tale involves no visible passengers. On particularly foggy nights, witnesses claim to see an old wooden boat drifting silently along the River Nore without oars or lanterns. The boat makes no sound. No ripples disturb the water. It simply glides beneath the castle before disappearing into darkness. Some locals believe the mysterious vessel carries souls unable to leave Kilkenny. Others believe seeing it is considered an omen of death. Although there is no historical proof supporting these claims, the legend continues to survive because people still report witnessing unexplained shapes moving across the river. Modern visitors have shared experiences as well. Tourists photographing Kilkenny Castle from the opposite bank occasionally discover strange figures appearing in their pictures, individuals wearing clothing unlike anything from modern times. Others report cold spots near the river even during warm summer evenings. Some smartphones suddenly lose battery power near certain sections of the riverside path despite working perfectly moments earlier. Paranormal investigators who have explored the castle and surrounding grounds often describe unusual electronic disturbances. Voice recorders sometimes capture faint whispers too quiet to hear in real time. Photographs occasionally contain unexplained shadows standing beneath ancient trees overlooking the river. Skeptics argue these are simply technical errors. Believers are convinced otherwise. Perhaps the most chilling story comes from a local taxi driver. Late one rainy autumn evening, he picked up an elderly woman near Kilkenny Castle. She quietly requested to be driven to the far side of the River Nore. During the journey she spoke softly about waiting many years for someone who never returned. When the taxi reached the bridge, thick fog suddenly covered the road. The driver glanced into his rearview mirror. The back seat was empty. There had been no sound of a door opening. No payment remained. Police searched the surrounding streets but found nobody matching the description. When the driver later described the woman to an elderly historian, the historian reportedly became pale. The description matched an old 19th-century painting of a woman connected to local folklore surrounding the River Nore. Whether coincidence or something stranger, the driver never accepted another fare from the castle after midnight. Even today, visitors often pause on Kilkenny Castle's grounds to admire the peaceful River Nore flowing quietly below. Its calm waters reflect the ancient towers beautifully during daylight. But locals know the river has witnessed centuries of heartbreak, executions, forgotten promises, and untold tragedies. Water remembers. Stone remembers. And perhaps some souls remember too. No one can prove that the White Lady still walks beside the River Nore. No historian can confirm that ghostly soldiers cross invisible bridges beneath the mist. Yet generation after generation continues telling the same stories. The names may change. The witnesses may change. But the whispers remain remarkably similar. So if you ever visit Kilkenny Castle, stay until the crowds have disappeared. Wait until the evening mist begins rising from the River Nore. Listen carefully. If you hear soft singing drifting across the water, do not answer. And if you see a lonely woman dressed in white standing beneath the ancient castle walls, no matter how familiar she seems, never follow her into the fog.